want to go into the portal talk just a little bit here for a quick second. So, was asked about it, was asked about his approach to it, pulled two quotes or two little tidbits from the article that I liked. And I got your thought before the show, and I realize now that I probably was dumb, but I'm going to reread it and we're going to go over it. So, they asked him not having to push as hard in the portal. And this is what Billy's response was to not having to, or not put, or just not doing it in general. Says, look, I think we've committed to signing. This is probably our third big group, really fourth big group of high school players. Our portal number has went down each cycle. After the first month of last season, I was like, maybe I misjudged this thing and messed it up. Now, this is where I got confused when I read it. So I asked Cam, I go, what first month of the season? Like, he's talking about like this year, he feels like in January he messed up when he first got here. And Cam clarified, he's more so talking about that first month going back to August when we played, obviously, Miami and A&M, and just looked like we were lost out there. In the sense, in Cam, that's what Cam said, of like, maybe I should have went out and got more guys with more experience. Maybe I should have done these things. But then he says, but look, I still do have conviction about it. Young players at certain positions need time, and there are the same that are able to contribute early. I think we've got competitive depth across the board there, and we've got some room. So ultimately, he panicked at first, like maybe I trusted too much, but as we saw the defense turned around and other things came together, he's like, no, we stuck to our roots and it worked. The plan worked out. We just made some errors. Is that fair to say, Cam?
Yeah, and again, to his credit, it did end up working out. Whether that's he got lucky or the strategy worked out. I think maybe a little bit of both. Because did take almost 2/3 of the season for the defense to fully turn around and truly be a top defense. But even some of the portal moves too. He talked about that Florida doesn't always get the flashiest guy, and we've talked about this before. That can be frustrating. That you have these guys not even make it to campus, or these big names from other SEC schools enter the portal, and they're like, hey, this is a position of need for Florida. They should go after him, and Florida whiffs. And so they don't always get the flashiest guy, but the production has been pretty good from some of these transfer guys. I mean, I don't think anyone really wanted George Gums except for Florida. He's one of the
I wanted
better
George.
defensive.
Big George guy.
And Triquez Bridges, I know that he played at Oregon, but he wasn't a big name that a bunch of schools were targeting or everything like that. He comes to Florida and he's one of the most versatile defensive backs in recent years. Now, of course, you're going to have your portal misses. I mean, that's no different for any school. But again, Florida's had some really good portal hits. And Billy's acknowledged that too, that they have conviction in the process of the production that some of these guys bring. Even though they're not the flashiest, they believe that they can make high impact plays for his team in their various roles. So, it's just you can't have both sides. You either live or die by the portal. You can't have you know you have the FSU model. They go all in on the portal. Their entire team is reset by the portal. Or you could have the other side where you get your high school class. Florida's is pretty dang good. You figure out your holes and then you fill it in the winter and spring portal periods. Florida's not done too. Spring
Yeah.
portal opens up, and he even alluded to that too. That we have some room to work with. We'll evaluate our needs from there and add more depending on what's out there. But Florida's in a position to where they're not necessarily done. It's kind of wait and see, and I know that frustrates everyone because it always feels like it's wait and see. But I like what they've done. They found needs in the portal that they hit. Uh, they got their backup quarterback. They got their starting receiver. They got the
Cornerback.
punter, which I love. So, it's they got needs. They're not done. And I also like that they focus on high school recruiting. Our guy Blue Orange Gator, Dave, and his other Twitter account always talks about, I'd rather get the high school guys and spend money on building a high school class than putting all this money into portal guys that you just whiff on. And, Florida does a good job of building a high school class. So I don't see any issues with it. I don't have issues with the team that's coming in this year. I like what Florida's put together. I think that they are built to have a successful season this year. I truly think the only thing that's going to hold them back could be the offensive coaching and the play calling, because
Oh,
that's
here we
just
go.
seems like
Here we go.
you. But I like the defensive staff that they put together. I like the hires. Love the recruits. They got a core group back. The only thing holding Florida back next year is Florida. Uh, So we'll see how it goes.
Dave?
Yeah, I mean, he makes a good point. I mean, you look at some of the guys that we took out of the portal last year. I mean, George Gums wasn't the highest rated guy out of the portal, but look at what he's done here at the University of Florida. I mean, Shamir DK wasn't the highest rated.
And of course, the show is brought to you by PrizePicks, ladies and gents, bringing you some fantastic action as we get the Super Bowl just a week away. They are doing some fantastic stuff. Take a listen to what's going on. The big game is almost here. It's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season. What a time. What a time. With PrizePicks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game, PrizePicks is also giving away one free pick for the big game, where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need 1 yard to win. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. Check out the promo tab to tail any of our super sweet Millie winners big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. Listen, boys and girls, there is no better time to get in on the action than the Super Bowl. It is an absolute blast. It's going to be a party. You're going to have a party. We're going to have a party. And be sure you invite the best friend of all, PrizePicks, to that party, boys and girls. Use the code Hightop when you download the app PrizePicks. And what do you get when you use that code? You get 50 bones, $50 back when you play your first $5. Again, $50 back on PrizePicks when you use the code Hightop. Take advantage of all the things that got going on right now. It's going to be an absolute blast. The build-up this week for the Super Bowl is going to be great. Again, PrizePicks, run your game. Now back to the show.
Guy out of the portal, look what he did. Traquise Bridges, same thing, not the highest rated guy in the portal. So, yeah, he may have had some misses along the way, but also the evaluation. And I've always credited Billy Napier on his evaluation talent of getting good players in here. And and it goes, and a lot of people will say, like, look, these kids, you're asking for their tape, you're doing this, you're doing that. And at the same time, though, like, if you're really studying your player and you're studying his character and the way that he, goes about his business off the field, I mean, when it comes to on the field, he's going to put in that much more effort when it comes to making plays, working out in the weight room, that kind of stuff. So I think he's got a good mixture. I mean, he learned from the GOAT, Nick Saban. Obviously, he's not the most, I guess, vocal and I would say boastful kind of coach where he's just going to grab you by the, helmet and tell you whatever. But I think the evaluation part of Billy Napier, I can say now the offensive mind, he struggled there a little bit. I know me and Shelton got into a little bit in the Discord about it earlier today, but um, as I said, I think 2 podcasts ago, I said, look, if Billy Napier can take his I think it was like 28.6 from last year, 28 points per game, he can raise it to 30, 31, giving up less less on defense, maybe bring it down a couple more points or maybe even 3 or something like that. You've seen how the defense turned around at the end of the year. I think Florida will have a chance to beat a lot of teams on the schedule. Now, I will give Billy Napier credit here too. You don't have DJ Lagway without Billy Napier recruiting him. And everybody's like, oh, well, DJ Lagway is going to save him and he's only going to be good because of Lagway. Well, he recruited him. So, yeah, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have him in the first place. So now he gets to use him because that's how the game is played. So, it is exciting. Lagway being in his second year, seeing what he did just as a true freshman coming out there straight from high school. The second year of DJ Lagway is really going to be, I think, a really big catalyst for this offense of whether it's going to go down the field and score those 2 to 3 more points per game or even more than that. Or it's going to be like, okay, well, Billy Napier, you might not be using Lagway right. You may need to run the ball. I think he's going to figure all of that out in the spring and in the summer. And look, you got to think these quarterbacks that, Billy Napier had, Anthony Richardson wasn't his quarterback. Mertz was a quarterback he got out of the portal. We went after other quarterbacks. We missed on those. He did get Mertz. He did what he could with Mertz, and I think he did a productive job of keeping Mertz from turning over the football the first year. Second year didn't really work out for him. Obviously, he got hurt. But now you're on to DJ Lagway. So this will be Billy Napier's actual high school recruited quarterback. So it makes it a little bit more exciting for Florida Gator fans. But I can see where the fans are 3 years back, and they're saying, okay, look, we haven't seen much on offense, but you gotta take a step back. Even I gotta take a step back and just be like, hey, look, this is actually Billy Napier's high school recruited quarterback. I mean, you've got coaches like Mario Cristobal that can't develop a quarterback, that keeps having to dip into the portal to get one. You got somebody that can actually
FSU.
develop a quarterback now. So yeah,
Yeah.
Florida State too. So I mean, eventually the transfer portal that's going to run out, and you're not going to be able to use it as much here in the future because of the portal periods they got now and stuff like that.
I
So
felt like it
I
wasn't as
think he's done
sexy
a good
this
job.
year. I don't think it
Yeah,
was.
I think
Wasn't the talent like I mean, last year we had like the Caleb Downs, like there were some bigger hit names. I don't feel like we had kind of shell shock names this year. I think it was a little less.
Well, I think
yeah,
part of
I
that
mean,
too was shocking coaching departures or firings. Like you didn't have Saban leave
True.
Alabama, or
And the
leave
college football
Washington.
expanding
The
things.
cycle as a whole this offseason, it wasn't. I know when Napier was kind of on the hot seat, Lane Kiffin was a big name, and if that had gone to fruition, maybe that would have kickstarted a massive
True.
coaching cycle. But that didn't happen this year either. The portal, it wasn't sexy. There were some good names out there, and some teams that made moves. I automatically think of like Oklahoma and John Mateer. Stephon Shivers was obviously a big name for the defensive line, but they're just it it wasn't great necessarily. Like how much would some of these guys have
Keyshawn
truly
Summer.
made an and even Billy mentioned it today too, and I know that we've had debates about this in the Discord about Florida spending and saying how much money they have with the buyout and spending in the portal. But he said this portal cycle was expensive, and again, you kind of relate to NIL. What is a player's true worth versus what they're asking for? Are you willing to pay that much, even if you have that money? Maybe some of these guys were just asking for too much and it just wasn't worth it. Now, granted, the next question is, well, Florida says they have the money to pay for it anyways. Why wouldn't they? But it's true. Some of the numbers that we saw were really kind of outlandish for what some of the talent was out there. So it is what it is. And again, going back to Billy and DJ, I'd argue too. Urban Meyer wasn't the same head coach without Alex Smith, without Tim Tebow, and without JT Barrett. You know what I mean?
I was
Like
just gonna say
DJ
that. Yeah.
DJ Lag, Napier's guy, and I people forget too. DJ was limited last year when he first took over as the starting quarterback. The first go around, he's still kind of learning the offense and getting comfortable. Second go around, he was playing on one hamstring. So
yeah,
sky's the limit. Him fully healthy and with an off season of development under his belt, and 4 offensive linemen returning. Your starting tight end is returning. Trey Wilson's coming back. The bulk of your running back room is returning, and you didn't have any major offensive coaching changes that could put a hiccup in his development. Now, you could also argue on that side that Florida didn't do anything to really improve its offense from a staff standpoint by hiring an OC or, making a change on the offensive line or anything like that. But there's no excuse for this year for this offense to have a pretty good year. They've got the tools, they've got the keys, they got the development. It's time to hit the ball rolling and get some points back in Gainesville and start competing for national championships again.
He
yeah.
said
What one? Oh, go ahead. One last thing, just to clear out, and I will say, like with an offense that Billy Napier runs, it's a very run heavy offense. So you're going to drain a lot of clock. So there's not a lot of time to score points. So you may not even see him hit the 40 point per game average unless his defense is just getting a bunch of turnovers. But I will say that it's not Doug Nussmeier running the offense. I mean, we were scoring like 18 points per game with Doug Nussmeier. I think Billy has a good balance in his offense. I just think he needs to figure out a way just to score a little bit more points.
have more of a killer mindset. So in regards to your expensive comment, I thought this was interesting that Billy said this. He says, look, I think they asked him about kind of just the overhaul from the portal and the class. He goes, I think positional needs, I think ultimately you're getting this is much like the NFL, your draft class, your free agent class. What do you got coming back? What did you lose? I think it was an expensive cycle, just to be very blunt about it. So that affects your strategy to some degree. I think now we're a little bit more boxed in just from a rev share component. There's things that contribute to that. We got a punter. We're able to get an edge player, a corner. And he spoke about the edge player, Kofi. He says he's off to a great start. He's added probably 12 to 15 pounds, played really well against SEC teams. He's 6'4", 3/4. He's 85 wingspan. So kind of bragging about him a lot. He's a good worker, good movements. But the fact that he said it was expensive. This is something we've talked about on the show. People are like, oh, we need to be more aggressive. I'm like, yo, we need to keep what we got. Like, reel them guys back in. Like, protect that line. I mean, who knows what calls DJ we're getting? Who knows what the calls that Eugene Wilson we're getting? Like, that was key priority. So for him to be transparent, that was huge. Again, and he even spoke to the rev share thing, which we've talked about. And we still have a lot to go over because he talks about the GM hire and the salary cap, which Cam, I don't know if you got to go, but I got some more questions if you're good. I don't know if you got
Hey,
Timmy
it's
Toomey on
Wednesday.
calling. Best day of the week. Well, hey, before